Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to a new episode of the Disorderly Sports Report podcast. I'm your host, Nick Rizner. You can find me on Twitter at Nick Rizner. Find us on Twitter at Disorderly Media and on Facebook at Disorderly ENT. And the website is, of course, thedisorderly.com for the best in sports and entertainment. Let me just say this off the jump. First of all, long interview, so I'm not going to do a long intro. Probably won't even come back for an after show. We'll just end it, as the interview ends. But congratulations to the Boston Red Sox, 2018 World Series champions, the best team during the regular season, best team during the postseason. Just a ridiculous run, man. Ridiculous. Especially when you look at who we went through. The Yankees 100-win team, we beat them in 4. Obviously, 5-game series, so 3-1 there. The Astros, defending World Series champions, a team that a lot of people thought, including myself, I think I even said this on the podcast, had a real shot at beating the Boston Red Sox, not even close, 4-1, swept them in Houston, ridiculous. And then the LA Dodgers, one of the biggest franchises. Honestly, I'll say this, building up to it, I feel like the Astros are harder than the Yankees, but the Dodgers are easier than both of them. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it like this is some huge World Series victory, but it's still the World Series. You never know. We're playing in the National League. Alex Cora, first-time manager, has always been in the American League, so it's he's managing pitchers and substitutions and things like that for the first time ever, and you just never know what's going to happen. So huge congratulations. We've been talking about Red Sox on this podcast for months. I've done a weekly column, so I'm really not going to go further into it than that, other than the fact that I think David Price deserved the MVP. Love Steve Pearce, but the storyline was David Price. We were kind of going back and forth between those two, as a lot of people were, I think, throughout that final game of the World Series. But shout out to David Price. He got the monkey off his back. He finally, basically silenced the critics and had a crazy postseason performance, not just in this start, but the start before it and the start before that to close out the Astros game. That was the big one to me, actually. That was the big swing, is when he when he went head-to-head with Verlander and took him out. Because, if you're going by reputation, David Price is the worst postseason pitcher of all time, arguably. And Verlander is arguably the best postseason pitcher of all time. That's at least the narrative, and the stats somewhat back that up as well. A little misconception there on both ends. But for him to silence that, go toe-to-toe with him, go toe-to-toe with Clayton Kershaw in this World Series final, it was fantastic. He said he wished he pitched the full game. I agree. It would have been nice to see that. But, I'll wrap the Red Sox talk up there. I'm sure some of you are appreciative. I know Matt is. He's a big Yankees fan. Sorry, buddy. But let's go to the interview now. So this is Matt Bessette, huge friend of the old MMA podcast, someone who's become a friend in real life as well, just because he's a local guy. A lot of these connections, like you have the interview connection, that's it. I feel like Matt's become more of a buddy outside of the show, and he is looking for that third UFC fight. I remember, not to go too deep into this either, but just when I first started following his career, he was already in Bellator, but pretty early on in Bellator, he's fighting on the prelims. He's in the tournament, I think, was the first time I saw him, so that would have been main card. But I saw him in Bellator, and here's this guy who has this cool story. He's from Connecticut, and I was like, oh, let me interview this guy. He ended up giving me an interview as he was cutting weight for his next fight, and then so many times since then, just after losses, he'll come on and candidly talk about losses. During fight week, like he's just always making time for this podcast, time for me. I always appreciated it, and it was good to have him on the Disorderly. So if you want to look up any old fights, UFC Fight Pass, you can watch his 2 UFC fights. If you just YouTube them, there's plenty of highlights, especially from the CES days. There's some really high quality production there, some good videos, and you can watch some of his highlights. Very exciting fighter to watch. Obviously, if you know him, if you don't, get familiar. This is Matt Bessette making his Disorderly debut. Enjoy, guys. All right, ready, man?
Yeah.
All right. Well, what's up, man? Welcome to the Disorderly. So this is the first time you've been on this podcast, I think. Yeah, because we did one in that this is the first time you've been in this apartment. You've been on this podcast in this apartment, but it was over the phone, which I feel like is a rarity for us now anyway. We always do it in person. But that was for the last episode of MMA Mad. So this is your debut on the Disorderly, which is weird because I feel like half the guests I've had on have been like big time recurring guests, been on a bunch of times, but this is like a new show with like a new, slightly smaller audience, and hopefully it's growing. But yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, it's welcome, I guess. Welcome to the Disorderly.
Thanks, buddy.
So what is new with you? I know so we can talk. There's a bunch of areas we can go. Obviously, we just talked about all the police stuff, but I figure what people are more interested in. So with the UFC contract, you have 2 fights. There's a 3-fight deal in place, but obviously we don't know what's going to happen. Where do you stand right now with the UFC?
So I'll answer the UFC question first. As of now, I took my first fight with them on a week's notice. Cut 30. What the heck was I? Cut 20 pounds, not 30, sorry. Cut 20 pounds in a week and fought. The week before that, I was in bed for 5-6 days with a hurt back, messed up. Pretty much just got out of bed and fought, cut weight and fought. And I took the guy to a decision in a really good matchup. My second fight, I had plenty of time to prepare. 3 days before I got the call to fight, I hurt something. I hurt something really bad. And I did the entire camp with it hurt like that. And I kept on hurting it over and over and over. And it would get worse and worse and worse. So there was a lot that I couldn't do for that fight to prepare. One of them being wrestling, which is obviously huge in a fight, right? So wrestling I couldn't do at all. And, even as something as simple as sparring was really tough and it limited me. So I had to do, other things to get in shape and to prepare myself. But because I had 31 fights so far, it was like, I know how to fight. I just need to get in shape. It's not like I'm not going to forget how to fight. I know what I'm doing. So I fight this guy that I believe that I'm 100 times better than. And I did work standing. I did really well standing. Anytime he'd get me against the cage, I felt good. We felt equally as strong. But there was certain positions that was really bothering this injury that I had, right? So, and I was put there a couple times. So now I'm 0-2 in the UFC. 2 decisions, one of them real close, and one of them I got screwed over. It was that close. And so I'm hoping to get this third fight with them. So they give you a 3-fight contract, and the 3-fight contract pretty much means you have up to 3 fights,
right?
No more. But they can, cut you off at any time. So right now I'm kind of in limbo as of what's next. So Sean told me, he's like, Matt, we got to make cuts soon. And to be completely honest, I don't know what's next for you. I don't have an answer for you. So we just keep on messaging him and saying we'll take last minute fights. How about this fight? How about that fight? Once, twice a week, myself and my manager are getting on him just to see if, anything could come about because of this.
Well, even I feel like I've heard Sean Shelby and Dana White multiple times basically, make comments like, well, this guy was begging me nonstop and that's why we rewarded him with whatever. So there's obviously a good strategy versus just waiting around, that makes sense. But then I guess my question is, so with when you hear Sean Shelby say that he doesn't know what's next or whatever, do you take that as basically a nice way of being like, I don't know, or do you really think that he's on the fence about it and can go either way? Obviously you're trying to read into his mindset, but how do you read that?
Sean is a straight shooter.
Right.
I'll give him that. He would tell me straight up that I'm probably going to get cut.
Okay.
Or he would say, I don't know. Or he wouldn't bring it up at all if it wasn't even an issue. As of right now, I don't know. I don't know how to read that situation. I do know that I'm going to be that guy that's hounding him, Yeah. I don't want to come off as annoying, but I want to come off as
tenacious,
wanting,
right.
tenacious,
right.
Needy. I need this fight, man. I need it. For me, for my family, I need this. Just, let me finish on my contract. So I keep saying to him, you gave me 3. I know it's not promised that third fight, but every time I'm out there, I put on a show, just give me this last one. Put me out there against another guy that is in my same position. I'll go out there, beat him up, do what I do. If I win, you want to keep me, keep me. If you don't, cool. But let me just see this out, see what happens. Now,
do you think, I don't even know if you would be able to really answer this because I'm talking about hindsight, but do you think that, say that, the UFC call came earlier in your career, you were one of those 6-0 fighters that gets called up or whatever, and you had these fight opportunities that presented themselves on 1 week's notice is maybe one thing, because I think that's how you get into the UFC, but the second fight where you knew you had this injury, would you almost hold off on taking that fight or be more cautious, or do you think that your approach to taking whatever fight's thrown your way would be the same regardless of where you were in your career?
Well, first off, I would not be in the UFC if my 6th fight. I just wasn't that good.
Yeah. You know what I mean? If you got for some reason, because your call up did come, I think, later than most of the people around you expected to. Where it was
if I'd won the first fight, would I have taken the second fight with the hurt?
Even that? Yeah, sure. Yeah. If situations are different.
No.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't have.
And
it would have been the first time in 32 fights that I've ever had to back out a fight. I'd have backed out. The thing was, the thing was messing up every single training session that I had to use it. It was, popping out. So it hurt. Obviously, it hurt like a bitch. But then the next few days, it would be inflamed, and I have to, take a day or two off because of it, and this and that. And it was just like, it sucked, man. And it was definitely the shittiest training camp I've had. It was a long one. It was like 9 or 10 weeks, which is great. But
right.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting. So you're almost saying because of how severe the injury was, as opposed to, I was almost just thinking, situations were different. It's like, all right, now I'm in the UFC. I got a win under my belt. Like whatever. If your circumstances were different, would you almost be more cautious and selective about what fights you took, or would you always have? Because going through like CES and Bellator, I feel like you've always been like, yeah, I'll take. I mean, not stupid about it. You're gonna take fights that make sense, but you're always like, I'll take like whatever fight. You're always just going after it, as opposed to being selective with opponents and things like that. So.
Yeah, I don't know if I would ever do that anyway.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think I would. I'm the type of person who gets called out on Twitter as like, who's this? Look him up a little bit. Let's do it.
Yeah. I noticed that. That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm a fighter, man. Fighters fight.
Yeah, some, and then some I feel like are more selective with opponents and stuff like that. But
yeah, but
unless
then,
you want to, what are you saying?
It's kind of a cliche thing to say, right? But fighters fight. But like, that is like, if you're actually a fighter,
right?
Then you fight.
And you talked about
if you're somebody
too.
who likes to compete,
yes,
then you compete when you want to.
There are people who compete in MMA that I don't think have like that
are really good,
right?
Exactly,
right.
That are really good competitors, that are really good athletes. That like the adrenaline rush. There's those, and then there's the fighters. There's the guys that take the short notice fights and go out and put on a show and bleed, like Michael Johnson the other day. Took a short last minute call up, probably gassed, couldn't make weight, like not in great shape, but he's a fighter. He's a fighter.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you definitely can't question him. We can talk about that card too, but you're gonna have to almost fill me in. And I saw like results basically, but I was watching the Red Sox in the World Series. You're a Yankees fan, right?
We're gonna have to cut that out.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be talking plenty about the Red Sox in the after show. I'm not gonna do it with Matt because I don't want to make him upset.
Go ahead.
All right. But I was gonna say this, and I don't even want to necessarily move past because obviously me and everyone else is hoping that you get this UFC fight. But if for some reason you don't, because I know before the UFC call up, it was contemplation, retiring, all that stuff. Is it, if this is your last fight, or if you get the one more and you're done, is that it? Have you thought about that, or are you willing to, go back to CES or Bellator or something like that?
I don't want to go out like that. I would like to go out on my terms.
Yep.
If this last fight didn't happen with UFC, which in the back of my mind, it's still a really good possibility that's going to happen. Obviously it's entirely up to Sean,
right?
And if he wants it, then we fight, and if he doesn't, then we don't, and it's just, that's how it is. But if it doesn't happen, then I'd really like to go out on my terms, meaning like maybe I want to fight at Mohegan Sun because I fought there umpteen times, and
where your career started, right?
Yep. Well,
did you have fights before that?
Yeah.
When did you? I thought
I had like what?
For some reason, I thought
9
you started
or 10 fights before Mohegan.
Yeah, but not Bellator though. What's the other one? What's the Connecticut promotion?
Reality Fighting.
Yeah. Was that at Mohegan?
They weren't at Mohegan Sun until like, I don't know, 2011.
Okay, where were they?
They were in New England. They would just go from like New Hampshire to Massachusetts and like kind of travel around.
Okay,
it was always a different location.
Gotcha. Yeah, I can see that. And even if it's, once again, you don't want to, we just talked about you basically fighting whoever just is in front of you almost, but I feel like if you did have like that one last fight in Mohegan or something too, it'd be cool if it was some sort of narrative fight or storyline fight or like something like that where it's almost like a legacy fight too. I don't want to talk, I'm not trying to bring up stuff like it's like we're looking back at your career. Like obviously it's
I mean, in a perfect world, I get perfect world, right? Yeah. I get this last fight with the UFC and I'm put on a good showing and I get to extend my contract, right? And then we wouldn't have to even have this conversation. Right. But like, you always got to plan ahead, and that's kind of where that's why if there's a video camera right now, you can see what I'm wearing. I'm wearing slacks, a white shirt. I had a tie on and a suit before. I was going to do some interviews and some exams and stuff. So I'm also an adult. I have an education as well.
Right.
No, I can't be fighting for the rest of my life.
You graduated from the same college as my sister, University of Hartford. Shout out. And obviously, you got like the law enforcement degree. What's your actual degree? What's it?
Criminal justice.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So that's always a plan. Then, of course, you have the gym with Jeff still. How's that going? Ascension.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Very good.
I've been seeing you guys have people competing in jiu-jitsu? No MMA yet, right? Or have you?
We have somebody competing this Saturday.
Is that your first fighter out of the gym?
First one, yep.
Shit.
Yep. Well, first homegrown.
Yeah.
So he started MMA with us. There's Dave Durao, who fights out of Underdog and Soul Fighters, who also trains at Ascension too. But he's like one of those guys that kind of dances around. He's got like 3 different gyms he goes to. But Sergi is primarily out of Ascension, only trains at Ascension.
That's exciting. Are you going to be cornering him, I'm assuming?
Yep, Jeff and I. Yep.
Are you excited for that? I mean, you've cornered other people, right? Well, you cornered like Jeff even.
This one means more though, because it's like it's my guy.
Yeah.
He's not a teammate. The other guys are teammates that I corner.
Right.
Like this Friday, I'm cornering Parker Porter, Johnny Lopez, and Justin Valentin, who are fighting for CES, and those are my friends and teammates. Right? I don't coach them. I help them out.
Yep.
But I don't. I'm not their coach. When they call me coach, I tell them stop.
Shut up. Yeah.
I'm not your coach. I'll help you out. I'm your teammate though. But this is different because that Sergi is my guy. He is. I feel like a father figure. Like, I got to make sure that he goes out there and does what he's supposed to do.
So along those lines, I've had conversations with your coach, Russell. I've had conversations with a bunch of other coaches too. And from what I understand, especially from like former fighters that are coaches, it seems pretty universal. That's like almost like way more stressful than it is for you to fight, to like go in there watching him fight. Is that how you feel about it or no?
I don't know anymore.
Yeah.
I used to think yes.
Just because it's out of your hands.
But now it's like,
people say.
It's the fight's fucking out of your hands too.
True.
You have no idea what's going to happen.
You're right.
You just go out there with like the hand that you're dealt and you go play, but in poker, not always does the best hand play. It does the best hand win.
Yep.
So, it's all stressful, man. But, you go out there and do the best you can.
For sure. All right. Well, I'm like, where's this fight?
Sergi's?
Yeah.
Plymouth Memorial Hall for Cage Titans.
Nice. That's exciting.
CES Friday and Cage Titans on Saturday.
It's a busy weekend for you.
Yeah.
So you're cornering 4 people, you said, total?
Yep.
Jesus, man.
Yep.
Crazy. But New England MMA in general, I feel like had a big weekend this past weekend. That's, once again, I was too busy watching the Red Sox win the World Series, but so I missed it. But I did look up the results. Andre Sukumtuk, Calvin Kattar both picked up big wins. This is like a couple weeks before that, but they just had a huge announcement for Rob Font, obviously fighting Sergio Pettis at bantamweight. That's crazy too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like really exciting stuff going on in New England MMA. Kind of always now. I feel like when we started doing interviews, there's like a long portion where it was like, why is this the most overlooked like region of the country? And now it seems like, I don't know if it's something that just clicked, or whatever. I feel like UFC like is starting to show like a real shine to New England guys.
Just look at that real quick. Look at Rob. Rob was good in the Northeast.
Yep.
But he wasn't like super standoutish. He was good. He was really good. Getting to the UFC, and now he's fighting top 10 guys.
Oh yeah.
Same thing with Calvin. Calvin had, I think you look at his record. I think he hadn't finished a guy. Ironically, his name is the Boston Finisher because he can finish, but he hadn't finished a guy in like 5 years or something like that, 6-7 years. I don't know if it's completely accurate, but you have to check. But he hadn't finished anybody in a while. It's decisioning everybody, and he gets to UFC. I think he's 3-1 now, 2 knockouts. In his first fight, he took on short notice against Andre Fili, and he won by decision. His only loss was against how do you say his last name? I don't know how to say it.
I don't even remember.
I don't know how to say his name.
I'll look it up, but you can keep talking.
But he lost pretty much by leg kicks and didn't have a great game plan. But I think Calvin can beat that kid. But the other kid's now fighting for contendership, I think, for the title. So those guys they're doing well. They got good coaching, good managing, and they come out with good game plans and they stick to the basics.
I don't know, by the way. Moicano?
Yep.
Yeah.
What's his first name? Renato?
Yeah, Renato.
Yeah. Moicano. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. And I think your debut in Boston was when Calvin Kattar got the right. I'm looking at it. I don't know why I asked you. It's right in front of me. Yeah. So your debut, that's when he had the knockout at Shane Burgos, which is crazy. That I think was. I mean, still that you see that in just UFC commercial highlights. I feel like that.
Yeah,
like
we were in the back, in what they call the green room.
Yep.
So after you fight, you can't go into the crowd. They don't let you go in the crowd, like CES and stuff, and like local ones. You can go out into the crowd and mingle. You can't do that in UFC. They keep you in the back for I don't know, safety reasons, whatever. But they keep you in the back, and they keep you in this big room that serves food, drinks, and no alcohol, obviously.
What's the food spread like?
It's actually good. It's actually pretty good.
Have you noticed a difference? Where'd you fight the second fight again?
I did Boston and then Vegas.
Okay, Vegas. Yeah. Is there a difference? Just universal?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. I think they probably have the same catered food. But like, no, it was great. So everybody's in there, and everybody's watching this fight. And I think Shane was up 2-0. Just being aggressive and coming forward with strikes. Calvin was looking like he's slowing down because Shane's constantly coming forward. He's got that like.
Well, they were talking about Shane like he was like I'm not. He still is like regarded as a top prospect, but
he's good, man. He's very good.
I feel like the swing of that event was almost like I don't know how Calvin's going to deal with this guy. That was like kind of how like they were talking about it heading into it. So it's
for real. But I mean, look at the fight.
Right, exactly.
Shane was winning the fight. He was winning 2-0. And Calvin knows that. He's smart. And Calvin just perfectly placed. Was it a cross that landed and then an uppercut or something like that, right?
It was definitely
him with the cross, it dropped him with the uppercut.
Whatever shocked him at first, he started to like get a little wobbly. And I think it was almost 2 uppercuts. Like there was an uppercut, it was kind of a flash where he got back up, and then he knocked him out with like another uppercut. I think
perfectly placed. Great timing and great accuracy.
But yeah, that was crazy. And then I'm personally, just as a longtime podcast guest, happy for Andre Sukumtut because the fight before obviously didn't go. I think we've talked about.
He was 0-2, man, and he took a fight on short notice.
Right.
I think he was in the same position I was.
Yep.
He was just like close decisions. I think he got screwed in one of them.
Yep.
I think he made a terrible decision. I think it was his first fight. He made a bad decision in the fight, and like he should have won.
Yep.
Second fight, he got screwed. He dropped the guy like 3 times in one round. It's absurd.
And then the third fight was a knockout. I think.
And then the third one, he got a knockout like right at the beginning of the second round. I think something like that.
And I remember
against that undefeated guy.
Yeah, and if I'm remembering correctly, I remember him getting like emotional in the octagon and like crying and stuff too. Yeah, it was a really cool moment.
I would too, man.
Of course,
I was happy for him.
Yeah. Oh, I hope to see you cry in the octagon in your next.
I'll cry right now. Just think about
it. Then he had the performance against Sean O'Malley, which is like that was the one everyone criticized because Sean was hurt and whatever he said he didn't notice in the moment. We've talked about that at length. Well, I mean, it's not on the show, but whatever. So to see him come back and get that win now is awesome too. So
yeah,
but he's another one of those guys that probably should have got called up before. Finally got the UFC call, like you said, went 0-2, and then turned things around and made the best of it. So that's a great success.
I'm hoping to follow in his footsteps.
Applicable success story. And we talked about it briefly, I guess. But what do you think about Rob Font versus Sergio Pettis? Because that's crazy. That's even when Rob Font, like I think he was not one of the first guys, but like out of this current wave of New England guys, I feel like he was in the UFC a little bit beforehand, but he was getting, like you said, like he was getting fights and he was obviously good, but he wasn't getting like these names. Like Sergio Pettis is like, in large part because of Anthony, but he is like a household name in the sport. So to get that fight, and then he's got a bunch of good fights. He fought, did you fight Dodson? No, did I make that up? Was he supposed to fight John Dodson?
If he was, I don't know.
I don't know what I'm talking about. Who am I thinking of? He fought, he fought the Brazilian guy too. John.
Oh, Rafael Assunção?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, him too.
Yeah. That's a tough fight. Assunção's got, good striking. He's fast, and his takedowns in jiu-jitsu and MMA is high level. So
I was thinking John Lineker. That was the first, I think, he came up short in it, but that was like the first like time where I was like, oh shit, like the kid from New England's fighting John Lineker, who I feel like is like
he's fought some real good guys.
For sure. What do you think about this matchup? First of all,
I think it's really tough for Sergio.
Yeah, it's either his bantamweight debut or his return to bantamweight, but he's been fighting at flyweight for I think the entire UFC career.
Yeah,
if not his entire pro career.
Yeah, he has.
So this is a step up to bantamweight.
I've only seen him at flyweight.
Yeah, same.
I think it's a terrible fight for Sergio. Not that he can't win, but he's not going to take him down. Right. I don't think he's ever gone for a takedown in his life.
No.
And Rob's jab and his ability to control distance is really good. He's longer than Sergio. He's fast. He's technical, and he can take you down. So he's got that. Obviously, that's you look on paper. I don't see Sergio being the favorite. If only his name. Right. You know what I'm saying? Fighting a Pettis and winning is great, but like on paper, Rob's got to be especially because he's the bigger guy. Yeah. I think he's got to be the favorite.
I wonder what went behind the switch. I mean, unless he's getting bigger. I wonder why he's switching to 135 now. Because I'm looking now. He started his career. First 3 fights were at 135. Then he switched to flyweight, and he's in flyweight since. What?
Because the UFC is getting rid of the 125-pound division.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Is that like official?
No.
Yeah,
but they are.
Actually, I completely forgot about this because it's also
Demetrius goes to 1FC.
Yeah, this is also lost in like the World Series.
Henry Cejudo was talking about a super fight at 135 and didn't say anything about fighting anybody at 125. Yeah. They're getting rid of it.
I mean, if you look at it from a business perspective, I'm not surprised, I guess. I think they haven't been able to really market. I mean, they had arguably the best pound-for-pound fighter of all time as their champion for a long time. Right. They just haven't been able to market that division at all.
You can't market him. Who the fuck are you going to market?
Right. Cejudo, no. It makes no sense. At least at that weight class. So it's, I mean, that would make sense. How about
Bellator, 1FC, they can carry the 125ers, but I don't think the UFC wants to do it anymore.
How crazy, because like I said, I got lost, it was all baseball for me the past week, but how crazy was this trade between Ben Askren and Mighty Mouse? I feel like that's like such a crazy concept. I mean, it's just never happened before, I guess, but it also, I mean, it makes sense because like I said, you couldn't market Mighty Mouse as a champion, so it's not really that big of a loss for the UFC. And then you have this shit talker has this whole storyline of trying to get into the UFC for a long time, this dominant fighter, and now he's finally making it. I feel like he's already stirred up.
I think it's win-win for everybody involved.
Yep.
But obviously sucks for the 125ers in the UFC division, UFC flyweight division, because I don't think it's gonna hang around. I think they're gonna get rid of it. I think they're gonna do Cejudo versus TJ. And
at 135?
At 135.
Yep.
And I think that's going to be like the joining of the divisions. And I think the best 125ers that can do 35 are going to stay in the 35-pound division and make it bigger. And I think the guys that aren't going to do it are going to get cut. And that's just a way to get rid of some guys.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anybody anyone who's fighting at 125, I guess, could compete at 135. They might be at a disadvantage, but you think that they at least could. Like, they won't be that undersized. There's no guys who aren't cutting weight to get to 125, I don't think. So I don't know. Yeah, so I guess from a fan's perspective, you are getting when you combine those two divisions, you're going to get this combination of talent that can only be good for matchups and things.
Yeah, there's not a lot of 25ers that can't fight 35 and compete.
Right.
Because remember, Demetrius is a 25er, and he's one of the smallest ones. And he fought guys like Dominic Cruz in his prime, Dominic's prime. And, it was the decision. And, you can still compete at 35. It's not as if it's, 55ers having to go up to 70, where there's going to be a huge size disadvantage. The only difference is the little bit of size, but speed at 125 versus 135 there's a difference. 135ers is going to have a little bit of size on them, but the 25ers that come from 25 to 35 are going to have the speed advantage. So, it's going to be good.
I wonder if this leads to, I'm just trying to think of, because the women's weight classes too, it seems like, at least for now, they're kind of spread thin, with the exception of strawweight. I feel like flyweight is getting there, but there's no names really yet. And then bantamweight, ever since Rousey left, there's not any real star power there. And I feel like those are also thin divisions. I wonder if the UFC would continue to sort of combine divisions and make them smaller. I don't know.
I don't know what they're going to do. There's also the possibility of adding weight classes too, which I like.
You mean like how Nate Diaz and Dustin Poirier wanted that 165-pound belt?
Yeah.
That was just a great Twitter moment too.
We've talked about this, and we don't have to talk much about it, but it should go, if you're getting rid of the 25ers, assuming that they're still here, right? 25ers, 35ers, 45ers, 55ers, 65ers, 75, 85, 95, 205, 225, and then heavyweight. So
I've heard that argument from pretty universally every fighter and things like that, but I think the counter argument to that, just devil advocate, is from like a fan's perspective, when there's like too many belts, they lose meaning. That's always the sort
You're
of
adding like 2 divisions, I think. So 55, 65,
right, no more
70 becomes 65.
Right.
And then you're adding 75.
So you're adding 85,
and then
95.
75,
You're adding 3
95,
divisions.
and 225. So 3. Yeah, 3. You're adding 3, but like there's a huge jump from there's heavyweights that get in the cage at like 230.
Yeah.
They could fight at 225.
Yeah. Imagine like if Stipe just cut like 10 pounds and wasn't fighting 260 pounders. Like,
right. He could be the cruiserweight champion, or however you were.
Yeah.
That could be light heavyweight, and 205 could be cruiserweight. I don't know how you want to do it, but
I mean boxing has done that forever, so I don't understand why.
Yeah. And you could be a 2-division champ. You could be a 3-division champ. Imagine a guy was 45 or 55 and 65 champion.
Right, and then that it's more belts. But once you have like the multi-divisional thing, which we're already seeing touches of now with whatever McGregor, DC, I feel like that adds. Then it like elevates them above a regular champion, and then you have a whole nother marketing angle and all that. So, like
I'd also like to see marketing of like champions versus champions in different organizations.
Yeah, that's always. Well, actually, this trade. You think that? I mean, not that ONE FC is on the same level as UFC, but like I feel like just making this trade in general is a weird step for the UFC to collaborate, basically, which they traditionally haven't done. They just swallowed up organizations. They never like co-promoted.
I think they wouldn't do that with like Bellator or anything, because Bellator is kind of a competitor, even on a smaller scale, but like they're kind of a competitor. Whereas ONE FC is just Asia.
Yeah, I would love to see that. By the way, if for some reason they were able to work it out, like the best guys in Bellator versus best guys in UFC. But
that'd be cool.
Yeah,
there'd be a few Bellator guys that would really succeed.
Yeah, I mean, for sure, definitely. Especially like, and you see, you almost get like a more direct comparison with guys like Rory McDonald and whoever going over there, because we already know how they stand up against the best of the UFC, and now we see them compete against the best of Bellator, and I feel like you get like granted, people are at different points in their career, but still, I think you do get like at least a kind of a litmus test of where these best guys, or for example, like Eddie Alvarez coming over to the UFC and seeing what he was able to do there too. It's like, the levels of talent aren't that different at the top. So, like Michael Chandler, I would love to see him versus somebody. Yeah,
man, like Mike Chandler, like he's so fucking athletic, such a good wrestler, hits so hard, and I've seen him win when he's supposed to win. I've seen him lose when he's supposed to win, and I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah.
I think he's a great fighter. I think I don't know what it is.
Well, I'm thinking of like those Will Brooks fights. Not that Will Brooks is bad, but I was like, Michael Chandler should have won that fight.
Exactly.
Even watching it too.
Exactly. Like, you'd think that he would.
Yeah.
And I've said bad luck in was it 2 fights ago or something? Last fight, 2 fights ago. Where now he's getting a rematch against the guy. I can't remember his name. He's the current champion at 55. But he like broke his ankle or like did something. You remember that fight where he like had like weird footing and then his leg kept on like giving out over and over?
I do actually.
And the ref stepped in. That was like the weirdest thing. And then right at the end, he's sitting down and he stands up pissed off, and then
Brent Primus.
Yes, Brent Primus. Yeah. At the end, after they called the fight, he's sitting down on the stool and he's pissed off. He stands up to like walk it off or walk around a little bit. And one of the commission members is like telling he's got to sit down, and just before that, one of the other commission members takes the seat away for some reason, and he sat straight down and fell on his ass like in front of the entire crowd and world. And I'm like, who is the douchebag that took the seat away, and why?
It's like a Three Stooges move.
Why would you take the seat in general? What is it?
Yeah, no, that's it. No more sitting for Chandler.
That's one of those dumbass commission members that like, because of their job, they think they're allowed to do a bunch of shit. And they have all this authority over you. Like, just stay in your place. If I'm doing something wrong, you can tell me. But like, just shut up, stay in your place. There's commission members out there, and don't even start on these. But like, just commission members out there that just over.
So let me ask you, because I'm not going to put you in a position to say anything bad. So let me say this: out of the states that you've competed in, what's your favorite state commission? Is there like one that stands out as being like actually
favorite
good?
State commission?
Yeah.
I don't know. I love Connecticut. I love Mohegan Tribe. I do. Honestly, I do. Mazzulli is he runs a really tight ship, and guys like don't like him. I like him a lot. I think he just runs a tight ship. I think he's a nice guy.
Fighters don't like him, or like
yes,
okay, I didn't know if the promoters had trouble dealing with him.
Yeah, because he runs like a really tight ship. It's got to be this way, and if it's not even remotely, if it's not perfect, then it's just not going to happen. But Missoula runs a tight ship. The Rhode Island guys, really great with CES. Able to shoot the shit with them and smile with them, and like they all know me by first and last name, middle name, address. You know what I mean? Like just good people.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've never had issues with them. The Massachusetts Commission tends to be the hardest to work with, only because like a lot of times they don't have their. They're good. They're good. They're just not as professional, I think, at times. They're still a newer commission than, say, Rhode Island or the Mohegan tribe, especially. I think they're still trying to figure things out. But a small example with them, you're supposed to apply for your license, and then it's supposed to be sent to you in the mail. I've applied for a corner's license every year since 2010, since I first started cornering. I've never once got one in the mail. So every time I'd have to corner after that, I've never gotten one ever. And every time I've had to corner after that, I'm always like, I don't have my card. Like, it was supposed to be sent to you in the mail. I'm like, that's what you guys say every time. I've never gotten one ever. In my 10 years of cornering, not once have I ever gotten anything. So it's, commissions.
That's, and it's obviously different. It's not the commission. It's the full package of things or whatever. But my favorite place, I've probably been, I don't know. I haven't been to that many UFCs, but I've been in a few different states, and Boston's like far and away my favorite place to like watch fights. But that's obviously way different. That's crowd atmosphere, everything. That's always been my favorite like place to see fights.
The commission, when I fought in the UFC, the commission for Massachusetts was very good. They were good, really good. But then you fight your corner for like ammo, and it's just different. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe they don't take it as serious. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where they should. They should take everything.
It makes sense. Like that follows logic that they wouldn't. So it's like, but it's just some local show. Even though you're right. They shouldn't treat it that way. But I'm not surprised that a certain commission would do that. Oh, by the way, I didn't even write this down, but I just remembered. Did you notice they were? I think they were probably doing it the whole playoffs, but definitely the World Series.
Playoffs.
They kept showing, they kept showing the Mohegan Sun commercials. That was you in there, right?
Yeah,
like a couple times, right?
Yeah,
was that you with the head kick, and then I think also on the cage?
Yeah, it was right after it.
That's what I thought. I recognized the pink shorts first, and I was like, I think that was Matt. And then they showed the commercial like every single time.
Yeah.
And granted, it's not. I'm sure it's just in this area. It's not like a national thing, but I was still like, oh, that's fucking cool. It's a World Series, man.
I've seen it when I was walking at the Big E with my wife and my son. We're walking by the Mohegan Sun, like whatever it was. They had this like little tent thing going on, and we walked by it. I don't know if you went. Did you go to Big E this year?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Then the one.
No.
If you go in Connecticut.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You go in the back, the outside part.
Yep.
They had something set up, but we went back there, and Caleb goes, "Matthew, you're on TV," and I go, "What?" And he goes, "Look." And I'm like, oh yeah, that's because I saw it online beforehand.
Right.
And I'm like, oh shoot, that's cool. And then like the 5 workers are looking at me like, you're on there? I'm like, yeah, I'm right.
You're like, wait for it to loop back around?
Right there.
That is cool. But because that's not, I mean, they weren't showing like, it wasn't an MMA commercial even. It was like, here, come to Mohegan Sun for all the cool stuff we have. And they showed one clip of MMA, and it was you, or 2, I guess. Both were you. Mm-hmm. Pretty cool, man. I think that almost, well, no, it doesn't trump. Billboard's still cooler, I feel like.
Do I get royalties for that? They're just putting
I don't know. You should have said that. Yeah, you should sue them for using your likeness.
So Bellator can do whatever they want with it. I already signed that off.
I figured because they own all the highlights of everything, basically.
Yeah, they pretty much own my likeness for anything that was on camera when they had it.
Well, there's a whole entire fight that wasn't on camera one time, as we've talked about.
Yeah. Thanks for that one.
It was very, very frustrating.
That one got lost.
So let's get into UFC 230 quick. That's obviously coming up this weekend. And we talked about the Derek Lewis fight or whatever. No, we're talking about DC being a super champ real quick. But are you surprised that DC and Derek Lewis, this fight got made now? Because I'm surprised pretty much from both fighters' perspective. Like for Derek Lewis, it's a lightning fast turnaround. And then DC, I actually had Javier Mendez on the podcast again, and he specifically said DC, like, he's like, oh, he's not, his hand hurts or something, he's not going to be able to fight till 2019. And then like a week later, they announced this. So
they probably offered DC a ton of money.
And he thinks Derek Lewis is a beatable opponent.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. He can definitely be wrestled, grappled, and just
Right.
put on his back and made it look silly, especially because he doesn't have the kind of cardio that than one of the best heavyweights has. He just has a tremendous amount of power. He was getting worked in his last fight with Volkov.
Until the very last second.
Yeah, 10 seconds left.
But then that plays into the whole quick turnaround thing, because I feel like he got hit a lot. Like, it was like it wasn't like a crazy beatdown, but he was like getting beat up the entire fight.
Yeah, for Derek Lewis though, it makes sense. The reason I tell you that is
chance at a title shot, and
and it's probably the one and only. Like, if he waits too long, he probably won't get that fight.
Yeah.
For the title.
Well, especially on McGregor Habib, like, I think they're thinking that his star power is as high as it's ever going to be, or at least has ever been, because that's a huge card, and then he had this huge moment on that huge card, so they can flip that into a title shot.
And he went from, like, I don't know if this is accurate, like 300,000 followers on Instagram to like 3 million followers or something like that. Something silly. I don't know if that's accurate.
Sucks. Dale used to do the social media. He like had some
but like in 2 days he went from that, just because of that after fight commentary he did. My balls was hot.
It just sucks that people he's had the funniest post fight interviews like throughout his career.
Yeah.
So it's whatever.
He's
in the big skate. You got to do it on a McGregor card.
If you're the UFC, this is the perfect time to have this fight.
Yeah.
If you're DC, this is the best time to have this fight, because you get to defend your title. You get to cement your legacy now as UFC. This is his first defense, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Now that he's defending it, he gets to cement his legacy even more by defending the title. He's defending it against a guy who gasses like almost every fight. So
right. No, there's definitely a good, very favorable matchup for DC. I think it's hard not to look at it that way. But also, I think he said he wanted to fight Brock Lesnar still. That was like a fight that like DC continued to talk about. I guess there's no guarantees.
That's a money fight,
of course.
It's money for
also
everybody.
I mean, DC has demons with John Jones, I guess, but otherwise, like, there's not really anyone out there that I would say DC doesn't have a chance against. Like,
I think DC beats everybody at light heavyweight and heavyweight.
Yeah.
I think he still beats John.
I know. I thought that last time too.
Yeah,
but to be fair, I hate. So the narrative with that rematch is always like, "Well, John Jones did it again." Like, I remember watching that fight, and DC was dominating until one head kick that ended up like wobbling DC, and then John Jones just finished it because he's obviously a killer. Yeah. He's like good enough to do that. But I remember that fight being like, people almost remember that fight back like, wow, John Jones kicked his ass. I was like, no, he landed literally one head kick, like deep. It was like the third or fourth round. I was like deep into it, but the entire lead up to that was John Jones losing, I thought. Yeah,
but then there's the argument that John made to DC after DC was like, I was beating you that one moment, and John's like, yeah, you were beating me until you lost.
Right. Well, that's the same sort of narrative with like Chael Sonnen and Anderson Silva. It's like, yeah, but that one moment is the fight.
You were
like,
winning until you lost.
Yeah. Like this, we like fought and I beat you before the time ran out. Yeah.
Decisively, not by decision.
Tough to say. And it's hard not to look at it from like Chael Sonnen's perspective or DC's, where it's like, yeah, but I was doing so good though. And it's like, yeah, but
right.
You didn't finish though. Yeah, so I don't know. So I think we're both in agreement that DC probably wins that one. I assume he wants Brock Lesnar next. He's made it very clear. Who knows? You can throw enough money at him, he might say yes, but he's been also very adamant about not wanting John Jones again, which I would still like to see it, but he said he wants to just put that behind him or whatever, so we'll see. But John Jones, I think if it's not DC, he's probably going to fight Gustafsson maybe. I don't know who John Jones fights.
I think it's going to happen. I think Jones is going to fight Gus, and I think Jones is going to call out DC for the heavyweight title. And I think DC is either going to take it, and the UFC is going to be like, Come on, DC, take this, man. This is going to make us a lot of money.
For sure.
And he's going to actually take it, or he's going to retire before it happens, or something like that. Something's going to happen with DC in the next, December 29th? Yeah, John's fighting Gus.
Yep.
Before the year ends, that's going to be significant. Whether he ends his career or whether he, tentatively marks a fight with John. So I think something's going to happen.
It just sucks because, and it's not necessarily fair, but like that will be a criticism of DC's entire legacy, like forever. If he doesn't beat him, even if he beats him, it's going to be like, oh, it was 2-1 John Jones. Like people who love John Jones and hate DC are going to always point to that. But if John Jones wins, calls out DC, and then DC retires without fighting him, like it's from a fan perspective, like it's going to hurt his legacy. It just is, which sucks. But
DC's going to have to do it.
Yeah, have to fight him. That's what I'm saying. But then if he loses 3 times, I don't know. I don't know. It's tough. Yeah. But then I think what's important from a marketing standpoint too is like doing it at heavyweight adds enough of a wrinkle to it, because I think it's hard, no matter what, even if it's that kind of rivalry, it's hard to sell a third fight after someone already went 2-0. But I think putting it at heavyweight, it's like, yeah, but DC's like John Jones never fought at heavyweight, and DC has all this experience here, and so it adds a new wrinkle, and
that's true. And there's people that are saying DC's a different fighter at heavyweight, so maybe
which is crazy because he's like 5'10".
I know. No, he's shorter than that. Here's the story. So my fight in Boston when he was the main event.
Right, yeah. That was a Stipe fight, right?
Yeah, no. That was
Francis Ngannou.
No.
Wait, Stipe fought Francis Ngannou.
No. What the fuck was
I think Stipe fought Francis Ngannou. DC fought.
You're confusing the hell out of me.
Yeah, somebody else. Well, they're all they're all there. It was a crazy card.
Yeah. But we go in the elevator to go upstairs, and DC's in there with a couple of his cornermen, and he gives me the nod. Give him the nod. Unless he was bending over or hunched, I was taller than him. But it was something that was a good story. My cornerman and one of my best friends, Drew Cathers, looks over at him and he goes, "I just want to shake your hand." And John said, "Yeah, thank you." He's like, "My name is Drew." He's like, I gotta let you know that you're everything that a champion in this sport should be." And he said, "Thank you." And Daniel goes, he was like kind of taken back.
Yeah.
He's like, "Thank you so much, man. That means a lot." And I was like, "Drew, look at you, buddy."
Yeah.
That was nice because he is.
Yeah,
he's everything that a champion should be.
Yeah, it's actually insane. And
I hate that it took so long for people to catch on, like that he is good for the sport. He's also a good dude, and he's fucking exciting. He's really talented.
Oh yeah,
but it took so long for people to like him.
Well, it's the craziest thing, and it's like a played out thing now. So we're going to dive into it. But the fact that John Jones is like the hero basically, and DC's the villain throughout that rivalry is crazy.
Right?
Because it's like, personality-wise, it should definitely be the opposite.
Right.
And John Jones,
I was saying that for forever. I was like, I don't know how you guys don't like DC. John's the one that's like...
Also, John Jones, I feel like, has almost like embraced the villain. He's almost like been a heel and like been the shit talker and the provoker and all. It's almost like he's almost like asking to be the villain, and people just like cheer him and boo DC constantly. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't know. Crazy. Yeah, but that's wild that you're taller than him. Like, could you imagine... So that's basically like...
He may have had sandals, I had shoes. I don't know what it was, but I
even
felt like I was
looking crazy. The fact that he's fighting at heavyweight is just insane. Like, that's like... It's literally... Obviously, you guys have different frames, too, but like, just imagine you fighting, like, heavyweights.
Yeah, obviously, he's a thick motherfucker. His bones are like, they're just thicker than mine.
Yeah. That's the other... Yeah, he's like... It's not fat either. It's just like a round, solid dude. Like,
he has fat on him, but it's
like solid.
Under it is really solid muscle, like wrestling weight.
Well, that's what it is. That's the other thing, too.
Wrestling body. It's hard as fuck,
That's the other thing, too, is like, not only is he a 5'10" guy fighting at heavyweight, but his like core advantage is him being stronger than all the guys he's fighting. It's like insane.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of that's leverage and whatever, too, technique.
Well, but he's maybe stronger, but like he is embrace the grind. Embrace the grind. That's like his thing to say.
Yep.
He is the most grinding, punishing, come forward and like just bend you over kind of guy. He just like drowns you over and over and over again, and I think that's awesome. I have his style of like coming forward and drowning you, but he has it with Olympic level wrestling,
right?
Which is it's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's
fun to watch, man.
Absolutely, and you're right. People have caught on now, like the past, I don't know, a few fights or whatever. I feel like people are finally like, he's become a hero in his own right. People are like cheering for him. He's not the villain anymore. Whether that's the downfall of John Jones or whatever, but it's interesting, and I love watching him fight.
Yeah.
Co-main event: Chris Weidman versus Luke Rockhold, which should be good. That's a rematch, a long time coming. I feel like that's been. I mean, I can't remember. I remember the first time they fought, it was this huge rivalry. Obviously, it's not as heated right now, or at least hasn't been promoted that way. But the first time they had the whole East Coast West Coast thing, they were shit talking. There was a lot of like press conference build up to it, and then the fight, wasn't it the one where Weidman threw like a spinning kick and fell and basically lost?
Yeah,
it was like a dumb,
taken down off something silly.
Like literally a dumb decision. Well, he even said, he's like, I don't know why. I've never even like thrown that before. I don't know why I just did that, and then ended up losing.
Yeah,
because of it, basically.
I think it's obviously different times in both their careers. But what have they done lately? I don't think either of them have looked tremendously,
Yeah, agreed.
Impressive lately, but I think Rockhold probably took the Bisping loss. This is what I think. He probably took the Bisping loss greater than, say, Weidman took the what was it? Jagar Musasi, right?
Yeah.
That's who it was. The Musasi lost. So I think Weidman's probably the favorite, and I think that he's able to not throw anything spinning in this fight,
right.
and either wins a decision or I think he wins a decision because it's co-main, so it's gonna be 5.
Yep,
5-5s, right?
I don't think so. I think it's only championship fights and main events.
Oh,
I think so. I think it's 3. I think.
Yeah, you're right.
Which is, I almost don't like that too. And granted, co-main is just thrown out there. It just happens to be the second last fight. But when it's a true co-main event, that's like a marquee matchup. I feel like it should
that could be a main event
which
on
is
any other card.
What co-main should mean, but whatever. Yeah, I think it should be 5. What are you gonna do?
If that fight were on a
fight night or
paper,
something,
yeah, exactly,
yes, it'd be a main event. But I would say so. I'm interested in like Derek Lewis versus the Stylebender. There's like or Derek Brunson, sorry. There's a couple like interesting fights on the card, but for the most part, for like MSG, I feel like it's actually kind of a down card. I mean, compared to the other ones they put together, had like 3 title fights, like that went crazy, and I feel like,
I mean, comparison, but like I think it's still a great card.
Right.
I think you put Adesanya on any card, and it's
I've been like trying to like screen.
He's fucking good, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And people who like don't like a lot of people like will watch McGregor fights or watch like maybe like a John Jones fight or something, but like the most MMA fans are very picky and choosy with what they watch. So like, there's probably a ton of people who don't know who he is, and that's the one person I've been screaming at. Like even like my friends that are like kind of interested. I was like, every time this guy fights, watch this guy fight. Like it's insane. It's insane what he does. He's one of the most exciting fighters I've ever seen.
Yeah, for sure. He's really good.
Yeah. So and Derek Brunson's a tough enough opponent to like bring the best out of the Stylebender.
I think Israel hasn't fought the top competition because you don't just bring a prospect in and have him fight top competition right away. But he's rolled through everybody he's fought. Wasn't even close, right? And now that he's fighting somebody, Brunson's like he's legitimate. He's good.
Oh yeah. Do you remember when Brunson fought Yoel Romero? That was actually the fight I think where Romero pooped his pants. If you remember what I'm talking about.
Pooped his pants?
Yeah, in the octagon. You don't remember that?
No. Like
poop? Yeah. I think he might have said it was sweat, but he's got like purple pants on. They turn brown.
Sweat?
Oh, yeah. You never seen that?
No.
Oh, yeah, he pooped his pants. But he also had a crazy knockout of Derek Brunson. But Derek Brunson was like winning the first like 2.5 rounds. And that wasn't like young, unknown Yoel Romero or something. It was like Yoel Romero. People already were terrified of him, and Brunson did great. Yeah. He ended up losing. Same thing.
Styles make fights, but like Brunson's not gonna.
Brunson's legit.
He's not gonna outstrike Israel.
Right. No.
He's gonna have to take him down.
Yeah. Have we ever? I'll say this. I think I remember that being brought up as a criticism. I think in his last fight, I forget who he fought, but Israel like had great takedown defense. Which if you're not a great grappler, I feel like that's just as good. That's a lot of people have made their entire careers on that. Like just being able to keep it in your zone.
Yeah.
So
that's the idea, right?
Right.
If you're the wrestler, you got to be able to bring it down. If you're the striker, you got to be able to keep it up.
For sure, man.
That's what she said.
Yeah, that's the perfect way to end it.
That's the perfect time to end it.
All right, man. I appreciate it. Disorderly debut. So now I'm trying to space it out. So this is a sports podcast, but I'll do like other stuff too. But I'm trying not to make it all MMA, so I'll just do it basically before big events. But so far I had Courtney Casey on, and then I just did Javier Mendez because it fit. It was like right before the Khabib fight. But otherwise, it's like I'm gonna cycle in like the favorites, like the best of MMA Mad once a month or whatever before pay-per-view. So be on.
Good luck, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man.
Bum, 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 bum.
All right. Big thanks to Matt. I said I wasn't going to do an after show. I'm really not. This is just me signing off. Also, happy Halloween. Didn't even really register. It's Halloween right now. I'm releasing this on Halloween. I'm recording this on Halloween. So happy Halloween to everybody. I hope you have a very spooky Wednesday night. Don't be a dick. Pass out candy. And that's it. Cue the duck boats. Go Sox.